Hello Crafty friends, it's Alicia of the Call Me Crafty Al YouTube channel, and I'm so excited to be on the Not Too Shabby channel today to share a card that I have created using the newest card kit, Lazy Day. I hope you'll stick around and see what I'm going to create. Thank you so much for stopping by today. If this is your first time to the channel, I hope that by the end of this video, you'll be inspired to click on that subscribe button below and ring that bell for notifications. If you're already a subscriber and regular viewer, welcome back. We're so glad that you're here. I'm sure over the last few weeks you have enjoyed seeing all of the inspiration using the newest and the very latest Not Too Shabby card kit called Lazy Day. Now this kit is available to order for a couple more days, so if you've enjoyed what you've seen and you haven't yet ordered it, hop on over to the shop and make sure to add it to your cart. I will have a link in that description box below that will take you to the subscription page where you can get all of the details. For today's card, I'm going to be doing a little ink blending, a little stamp masking, and some highlight coloring. The products from the kit that I'll be using are in front of me here. I chose 2 pattern papers from the Lazy Day Basics paper pad, and for my stamps I am using some from the Me Time set from the kit. I will start the process and voiceover here in just a few seconds, but if I do leave you with any questions, as always, feel free to leave those in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. Let's get crafty! To get started today, I'm going to be cutting the pattern papers. The floral paper I'm going to cut to fill the card front at 5.5 inches wide by 4.25 inches tall. Now with the purple one, there is some kind of like faux text in the background, so I do need to keep it in mind that there is a direction to this before I cut it. This piece got cut to 3.5 inches tall by 4.75 inches wide. Because I will be coloring with my Zig markers, I brought in my Strathmore Bristol Smooth pad and I cut one piece that was 4.5 inches wide by 3.25 inches tall. I also brought in my little scrap box of the Strathmore Bristol Smooth, and I chose a piece that would be big enough for my stack of books with teacup. I brought in a set of nesting rectangle dies, and I chose one that was just a little bit smaller than the purple pattern paper. I then used this to cut the center out of the floral because later the purple will cover that up, and then you can stretch this piece of pattern paper just a little bit further. Because I'm going to be doing some masking, the next thing I did was bring in my roll of masking paper. Now you do not have to use something specialty like this. You could always use a post-it note or just a piece of copy paper. Now these don't have to be perfect images, so I just threw the couple stamps I needed to mask onto clear stamp blocks, and I stamped those onto the masking paper. Once that was done, I brought in my fine tip scissors and I cut each of these out. Now when I cut out my masks, I do cut just a little bit in to the outer line. That just helps me get a better transition from the masked image to what is ever surrounding it. For the rest of the stamping, I did go ahead and bring in my Misty. This is because that Strathmore Bristol Smooth does have kind of a texture to it, so sometimes you need to stamp your images twice. To do the stamping on this, I am using VersaFine Onyx Black, and for my placement, I want my couch to hang off the focal rectangle just a little bit to the left, and I did go ahead and bring in my stack of books, so I kind of knew where my sentiment needed to be placed. But I will be stamping the teacup and the books on that smaller piece at the top. For the first stamp, I will not be stamping the stack of books, but I will stamp everything else. And I did go ahead and do this twice just to make sure I had a nice black image. Before I can stamp the stack of books onto that smaller piece, I brought in my little teacup mask and put that in place. This way, when I stamp that stack of books, it's going to look like the teacup was meant to sit on there, almost like it was part of the stamp. Because once I've inked it up and stamped it over the teacup, you'll notice when I peel that mask back that it did not stamp the books where the bottom of the teacup sat. And I will save that little teacup on the back of my stamp insert because it still has sticky and can be used again. Next, I'm going to be doing some purple ink blending. So I brought in my purple blending brush and I'm protecting my work surface with a thin cutting board. Now, because I want it to look like it's kind of like a halo of purple around the couch, but I don't want the couch colored in, that is where the second mask comes into play. I put that over the stamped image and then I just use that blending brush to blend out around that couch. Now, while I'm doing that, I thought it would be fun to stop by with a QOTV or a question of the video. I like to ask these over on my regular channel, so I thought I would ask one here today so we could get to know a little bit more about you. Today's question is, have you ever masked a stamped image? If so, is it something you do frequently or only when you have to? Let us know your answer in the comment section below. Once I was done with the blending, I pulled back the mask and I just love how it left that couch nice and bright and white. For the stack of books with the teacup, I will be using my Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens to only color the teacup purple. I wanted to go with a really monochromatic feel on this card and just highlighting and spotlighting things in purple. To color the image, I laid down my number 80 violet marker where I wanted the darkest color to be, and then I brought in my colorless blender and spread that purple out. Now you'll notice that I do wipe off my colorless blender quite a bit there on the bottom, and that's because I want this teacup to be fairly light. Once it was all colored, I brought in my little scissors and I cut out my stack of books and teacup. Now that all of the pieces are ready, we can get the card put together. Originally, I flipped over the frame to put the adhesive on the back of that, but I did change my mind and put the adhesive straight onto the card front. Once that was in place, the purple piece got centered on the card front, and then my focal point got centered on the purple piece. Finally, I brought in some scrap pieces of foam, and I added a couple of those to the back of my book stack and placed that next to the couch. To add a little sparkle and to bring in some more purple, I brought in some gems from my stash. I originally started with 3, but I really wasn't liking the layout of that, so I brought in a couple more gems, and I think I ended up moving all of these once again until finally I was happy with the placement of those. If you have any sequin or gem placement secrets, let me know in the comment section below. Normally, after I add the bling, I call my cards finished at this point, but I have been trying more recently to add something to the inside just for a nice little added touch. So for this card, I brought in a scrap of the purple pattern paper and I cut it so it was a 1/2 inch tall by just a little longer than 5.5 inches. That way, when I placed it on the inside of the card, I could make sure it filled left to right, and then I just cut that little extra piece off. Here are some close-up looks at the finished card, and what I enjoy about this is it shows you that you don't have to add a whole bunch of different colors to have a colorful card. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I made today's card. If you did, I hope that you'll give this video a thumbs up. Until our next video, I hope you're having a crafty day. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch all the way to the end of the video. Now I hope that you'll consider clicking on one of the playlists or videos I have linked above.